welcome to All Things Technical. And today we're going to answer the age-old question: how practical is a Mini Cooper S? Let me pause this here real quick and apologize for the audio quality. For some reason all of the audio files were damaged and I had to use the in-camera audio, which isn't as good, so yeah. Sorry for the poor audio quality and the excessive road noise. The Mini is a tiny car. Well, it's in the name, isn't it? It's only around 3.6 meters long and 1.7 meters wide, which is narrower than I am tall. So for modern cars, that is really small. But to show you how small that is, we brought a second car along. This lovely champagne-coloured 2002 VW Golf Mark IV. Also not a big car, but let's compare the Mini to it. The Mini makes even a Golf look big, but the new Mini is of course massive compared to the classic ones. They were a bit like the Weasley's Ford Anglia. They seem to be much bigger on the inside than they were from the outside. In fact, they advertised them as being able to carry a lot of luggage. Let's find out if the new Mini is also capable of surprising everybody with its practicality. Let's start with the door pockets first. The classic Mini could fit a lot of stuff in its doors, even though the doors were rather small and very thin. This car, of course, has much bigger doors, but the door pocket isn't really that big. It is rather shallow and a bit difficult to reach, but that is because there is some crash protection in the door, which is trying to keep you safe in case of a side impact, which is a very good thing. And for that, the door is still very thin, which is quite important for such a narrow car. Next, let's look at the cup holders, a thing the classic Mini didn't even have, but they became a thing to determine a car's practicality for some reason. Well, there are two of them in the front here, but they are placed right under the row of toggle switches, so that you can only put very small things in them. If I try to put a bottle in there, the switches get in the way. Luckily, they have these hoops around them to protect them so that I don't accidentally switch off the traction control with my bottle. But there is one more cup holder in the back here, where I can put things that are as tall as I want. Now that we've discussed the all-important cup holder situation, and we're already sitting in the car, let's talk about the seating comfort. The Mini is small, but it's not extremely low, and because of the steep windscreen, I have a surprising amount of headroom. Well, I'm not an exceptionally tall person, but I think that's not too bad. And if I had longer legs, I could just move the seat back a lot further to get my knees comfortable. And getting in and out of it is very easy thanks to the very long doors. Well, that is the case for the first row. But this car is an actual four-seater. There is a two-seat bench in the back, so let's see how easy it is to get in the second row and how comfortable that is. And again, the size of the doors grants you relatively easy access to the back, and as you can see, I still have a surprising amount of headroom back here. That is because the roofline is near horizontal. And that's the thing with many of these 2+2 cars. There are seats in the back, but you would have to lose your head in order to be able to sit back there. So the headroom is a plus. But the other interesting bit is, what happens when I move the seat back? So as you can see, I don't have too much legroom left, but I can sit back here, not a problem. Well, admittedly, I moved the front seat forwards a little bit, but I can still drive in that position, not a problem. So everybody in the car will have to compromise a little bit, but I think that is acceptable for a car that is that short and can still seat 4 actual normally proportioned people. Oh, and let's not forget to mention that these seats here are very nicely shaped and try to be some sports seats and provide you with a reasonable amount of grip through some quick corners. And one thing is for certain, there is a lot more room back here than there is in a classic Mini. Well, and it might not look like it, but there is still a boot behind me, so let's go and check that out. Yeah. It's a tiny car, what shall I say? The boot is proportional to it. I mean, I have some jump leads in there, which I didn't need yet, luckily, and an oil canister, because this engine drinks oil at the same rate as petrol, basically. And here we have the windscreen cleaner, which you need rather frequently with that super steep insect-killing windscreen. And there is the factory toolkit placed on the right there as well, so the bottom of the boot is basically filled already. At least the boot is quite high. So it does fit 2 boxes of bottles, just. And should you ever need more space, you can fold the rear seats separately, which is very handy. I mean, you don't get a level floor space, but that is complaining at a very high level. So the boot is not the biggest, but what you expect, this car is tiny, and that brings its own advantages. It's super maneuverable and can go around very tight turns. And of course, it's incredibly easy to park. Although when parking the Mini, there's one thing to keep in mind. As you can see, the Golf is parked here, but if you move around a little, the Mini appears at some point. And that is the problem when parking it the way I'm used to parking cars, which means getting the bonnet as close to the end of the space as possible. So with the Mini, keep in mind that you need to leave enough space in front of it so that you could park another smart car there in order to be able to find your car in a busy car park again and not frustrate other drivers looking for an empty space. And there we have it. The Mini seats 4 people, so you can pick up your friends. It's small, narrow, and very easy to park, which is very handy in city driving. And it is a lot of fun on twisty, narrow roads. But general storage space is limited and you can't fit a whole lot in it. But then again, how practical do you really think your car needs to be? How often do you need that massive boot space, or seat 7 people, or feel like you're driving a tank? In my case, the Mini is the perfect combination of a fun car and a practical car. And maybe it's a good thing that the boot is so small and everything is wedged in there, unable to move, because now I can go around roundabouts without touching the brake pedal, which is not a lot of fun for the passengers, but a lot of fun for the driver. And should I ever need more space, I'll stick a roof rack on it. They look very cool on Minis too. But for now, I'll just enjoy driving it a bit more. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And should you be interested in DIY content, go check out my other channel called AT DIY, All Things DIY. Link is in the description. See you next time.